Okay, here we have a Nintendo 3DS XL. Now the first thing we're going to do, of course, is turn it off. Completely off. Make sure it's shut down before we do anything else. Secondly, while you're waiting for that, make sure you have a Phillips 0 screwdriver. The size you want is 0. You can find these in carburetor kits. They're a pretty common thing. That's where actually I got this one from. It was just from a little carburetor kit. They make special screwdrivers for working on these things, but and some people will tell you to use 00 or 000. Honestly, I say use a 0, because if you use something too small, the tiny little tip will actually damage the screws you're trying to take in and out. So don't go too small. Use the bigger screwdriver if you can. Now that it's off, we're going to tip it over. And my stylus is missing, so I don't have it, but if you have yours, pull it out. Also, open up your SD card door, take out the SD card, set it aside. So now we have the 3DS XL. There are these two screws here and here to remove the back panel. So go ahead. These don't come all the way out, but when you're screwing them out, you'll hear a click. Or rather, you'll feel a click. That's the screw reaching the end of its threads, so you know it's done. There. Now, gently pull up at the corners here in the back. And if you need to, give it just a little bit of help along the sides. You see, sometimes it'll reconnect. But this should come right off. It kind of lifts off like this, like a door. Keeps sliding on me. There we go. It comes right off like that. Just set that aside. Now we're going to take out the battery. For this, you're going to want something for the flat end. I just have another screwdriver here. Be delicate, because you don't want to damage the battery. Just gently pry up and it'll pop right out. We'll set that aside. Okay, so we got the battery out. Now we're going to take this back off. Now, it's a little bit more to it than what you can see. There are 4 screws here, here, and here. Then there are 2 screws under these rubber caps. These rubber caps are really easy to get out. You can just take your fingernail and gently work at them. And if I had fingernails, that would mean something, right? Oh, see, there we go. Just gently work at them and put them down so they're out of the way. There. These have an adhesive on one side, so try to keep the adhesive side up and keep things from getting stuck on the adhesive. It'll make it so when you put the thing back together, that adhesive is still, as good as it can be. Now, there are actually 7 screws, because there's one right here. Pull it up so you can see a little bit. There's one right here in the cartridge area. So, gently take these out. And remember to be gentle. These things are very small. This is the only screw that is different than any of the other screws. Is this tiny, tiny screw that goes where the cartridge is. So make sure you set that aside. Now all the rest of the screws we're going to take out of this are pretty much the same, or no, I'm not going to say pretty much, they are the same size. So it doesn't really matter. You just gently turn them out. Sometimes they might feel pretty stiff. Set them aside one at a time. And the last screw. There we are. All 6 screws are out. Now this bottom plastic piece should come up fairly easily. You can kind of use this little tab to to give you a little bit of a pry point, but see, it pops right up. Now, when you pull this off, be really careful because the two buttons in the back are still connected by ribbon connectors. So you're going to want to very, very carefully lift those off. It doesn't take much. See, these are the ribbon connectors. You have to be very careful about that. So we'll set that to the side. Now, here we have the actual back of the circle pad right there. There are two screws, one here and one here, that hold it on. So we'll take those out. Again, these screws are exactly the same as those, so it doesn't really matter if they get set in the same place. Also, I'm sorry if there's a little bit of noise in this video sometimes. The place where I'm at tends to have a bit of noise. Okay, now, the circle pad is still connected to the other side of this, so what we're going to have to do is very gently work this loose by prying up very, very gently. There we go. And it's free. Now, there will be a washer. Make sure you keep that with the circle pad. You don't want to lose it. And there's also a little thing right here that holds the tape for the circle pad. So what we're going to do is, again, very, very gently. There is a little tab. You want to pry it up. There. It stands up like that, and this slides right out. And there you have your Circle Pad Pro is removed. Now, there are two little things here. These are actually the things that you connect your wrist strap to. If you pick this up and turn it, these will fall out. So you might want to just tip it over gently, hold one down, and take them out. Then take the other one out. There. That way if you pick the thing up, it doesn't fall apart. There's also going to be, in here, underneath this, between this and the top, you can see there's a thin plastic washer. There's going to be a slit in that washer. You can see it right there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to lift this up and get in here. And this is, I know it's hard to see with my hands in the way, so I'm trying not to, but sometimes things are so small. You're going to want to pick this up on one end and turn that so it's underneath it. Now, you can just turn this the rest of the way around, and this part will very gently come out. And here's that little plastic washer. Now this is very important. It keeps things smooth in there, so you don't want to lose it. Then you're going to have to open up your 3DS, and you see this little notch here? You're going to take that and you're going to line it up with the plastic. This one doesn't need replaced, so it really doesn't want to come out. Alright, come on, you. There. Sort of like that, and just gently push it out. And there is your actual Circle Pad Pro. Now I'm going to show you. Putting this thing back together is exactly the reverse of taking it apart. You put this in here, you get one of those little teeth inside, you gently turn it till it pops up in like that. Now we're going to take our split little washer here, and gently thread it underneath the slit in there. Everything has to be done kind of gently because if you break this, it's a pain in the butt. It's actually kind of a pain in the butt anyway. I can go ahead and close that and sit it down now, which will help life a lot. So we'll go ahead and I'm just gonna kind of do that so that it's split up a little bit, and see if I can't scoot it underneath. I do not have the best of light over here if it's not obvious. You know, I'm sorry if it's a little hard to see some of this. I really don't have the equipment to set up a studio, so I'm having to do all this stuff like just in the kitchen. There we go, now it's under there. Now, we're just going to take a small object here and just gently turn that, just kind of gently urge that underneath there. Sometimes it is not the easiest thing to do. This thing really doesn't like me right now. Oh my goodness. I didn't have anywhere near this much trouble putting this on when I actually did it the first time. Not even kidding. It just pretty much went right in. So this is being surprisingly hard, and I can only attribute that to the fact that I'm actually trying to show people how to do something. Because if I wasn't, this would be super easy. That's how it always works. Everything always works the best when it's not important. Alright, so we're going to give this one more try. Let me get this. I need to get this onto you. You need to have... Yeah. Like they say, you can't go out without your winter coat. Well, you can't go in without this. So, deal with it. You are just indomitable. Never have I fought so hard to get something to happen. It would help so much if I wasn't blind, I'll give you that. Okay, now we're going to move this. Oh, I see what's happening. It's trying to go underneath. There we go. Haha. Now we should be able to get it where we need it to go. Because it was going underneath the... There we are. See? That went so much easier. Now, I'm going to turn this with the pointy side, the open side down. Because that's how the control, or the Circle Pad Pro is going to go. Blah. Circle Pad Pro. No, it's just a Circle Pad. That's how this is going to go back in. So, we're going to take this little washer. We're going to sit it right on top of here so that you can see the hole. Use a screwdriver to line this up a little bit. Okay. We're going to take this and stick it back in here. Gently. Push this down. That should reattach the circle pad. Now we're just going to take this and turn it over. Make sure the holes are lined up and everything. And that should be good. Yeah, it's lined up. If I give it a little bit of a pull and it doesn't come off, that means it's in the hole and it's lined up and it's right. Okay, so now we start putting it back together. Take your screws. And just one at a time, you know, take your time. I like to turn mine backward just a hair until I hear a click, so I know that it's seated right. And then screw them down. sure those are nice and tight. Okay, the circle pad is back in. Now I'm just going to open this up, and you can see the circle pad is in there, and it's working. And I like to give it just a little snug down, just to make sure that everything is right. I'll go ahead and close that back up. Remember these guys we pulled out? Now's where you put them back in. Right back in the little corners like that. Now, we're going to take and put the back on. Here's where it gets kind of tricky. These little connectors are kind of a pain in the butt. So my suggestion is do the right one first, because it's the hardest. You're just going to want to line it up. This one is so much of a pain in the buttness. There, just gently press it down. Same thing with this one. Line it up. And just gently press it down. And this kind of hinges shut. Okay. That is that part back together. There. Yeah. We just start putting screws back in. Don't worry about putting them in super tight. Just tighten them up to where there's no slack. And if you try to turn the screwdriver backward, you feel a little bit of resistance. You don't need to Superman these screws in here. They're just, it's just holding a game system together. It's not holding together, a skyscraper. I like to do them a little bit off. Like I won't do them like in order. Gently screw those in. Now we'll jump over here and get this guy. Over there, whatever you are. You don't want to screw them too tight because you don't want to strip the heads and you don't want to strip the plastic, because ultimately these things are just screwing into plastic. So. And gently tighten. Last one. This thing keeps moving off the camera, I'm sorry. I'm sort of new to these kind of videos. I usually don't have a camera watching over my shoulder, so I'm not quite sure how to do it. But, alright, there's those screws back together. Now, I'm just going to try this machine and make sure that all the buttons work before I finish putting everything back together. So I'm just going to set the battery in here. Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to put the SD card back in, because at this point it's 3/4 together. We can do a little testing. Alright. Let's turn the power on. Make sure all the buttons work and stuff. And keep a hand behind it so that battery doesn't fall out. Now when you first turn it on, it's probably going to have the date and everything wrong, because it's not going to remember, what the date was, but there we go. Thumbstick works, D-pad works, left button works, right button works. There we go. Alright, all the buttons work. We didn't touch these down here, so there's no reason why they wouldn't work. So, now that we know this thing is back in one piece, and everything works, We're going to turn it back off and finish putting it back together. So just going to close that back up. Turn it back over. Again, careful not to let that battery drop out. So here's those little rubber plugs that go back where these screws are. Stick those right back in. And the last thing, well, not the last thing actually, don't forget this tiny, tiny screw. Now what's really handy here is if you have a magnetized, that's the wrong one, a magnetized screwdriver, you can just stick this on the end of it. Make sure you got it set right. There we go, like that. Take it and just find the hole. Give it just a little backward turn to get the click so you know it's in place, and then just screw it on in. Just like that. Now, the last part. See these grooves here, here, and here? These actually work like a hinge when you put this thing back on. And as you can see, these screws won't fall out because they got little lock washers on them. Now there's holes in this body here, here, and here. So what you want to do is you want to kind of line it up like that. And get your thumb out of the way. Like that, so it has a nice closed edge, and then just close the top down. And as you can see, everything is already all lined up nice around the edges. No muss, no fuss. Give a little backward turn till you hear the click, and then screw it in. Same thing with side 2. And there we have it. Completely reassembled Nintendo 3DS XL. Working. And now, with a new and improved, replaced Circle Pad. That's all there is to it. That is the take apart and put together. It's really not that hard. If you don't feel comfortable with it, you know, don't try it. But honestly, it's not really that hard. And pretty much what I showed you is everything you need to know. So there it is. If you decide to try this, good luck. You really won't need a whole lot of luck because, again, it's not that hard. Everything seems to be, you know, pretty straightforward. This is the second time I pulled this one apart and I haven't destroyed it. So if I can do it, anybody can. So that's it for now. I'm Zoa Gray. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you next time. Cheers.